Hi guys, how's it going? Thanks for coming back today. Let's talk a little bit about scientific experimentation. Science wouldn't be where it is today without the scientists doing their due diligence and developing experiments to test a hypothesis that it predicts. The funny thing about experiments is that they all began with a simple question. Within every experiment, scientists have to break down questions, create a hypothesis that makes predictions, go collect data and record results, and come up with a definite conclusion as to why, how, and what. These things take ample amounts of patience, something that is a trademark for all research scientists. Let's take, for example, giraffes. They have long necks. First observations and generalizations would claim that the reason for those longer necks is the ability to reach food that shorter giraffes can't. The idea has never actually been tested until recently when scientists decided to question the theory. It was Robert Simmons and Lou Scheepers who hypothesized that giraffes use their necks to fight, and the longer and thicker the neck, the better chances of winning. We'll call this the new mating hypothesis, which I'll explain later on in the video. But before we get into that, let's break off for a bit and talk about scientific experiments. Let's first begin with a breakdown of how hypothesis testings work. First, build a hypothesis, then experiment. That's pretty much it. But wait, if the experiment supports the hypothesis, then great, you're done. But if the experiment disproves the hypothesis, scientists are required to modify the hypothesis and try again. The cycle continues until there is conclusive evidence of what their likely modified hypothesis predicts is true. So back to giraffes. The whole premise is the claim that giraffes compete for food, especially when food is scarce. During the worst vegetation seasons, those giraffes with the longest necks have a clear advantage in reaching those leaves that the shorter ones could not. As a result, these taller giraffes end up fortunately surviving dry spells and potentially reproducing more young than those shorter necks. If you remember from my last video on the 5 characteristics of life and 3 theories in biology, you'll recall that fitness is how well you can survive and create viable offspring. This claim pretty much summarizes that taller giraffes are more fit than those that are shorter. As the experiment took place, data was collected and the results were quite surprising. Studies showed that on a typical fruitful day, giraffe rarely, if ever, foraged for food higher than their shoulder height. It was found that the majority of giraffes were tall enough for almost any height of food on trees. Studies beyond this system of giraffes were also confirmed in other locations, and to our researchers' delight, the food shortage hypothesis could not hold up. However, the survival of food shortage wasn't entirely dismissed. The new hypothesis didn't explain what would happen when the only food left was at the very top of the trees, where only a select number of giraffes could reach. At this point, it's pretty clear that height does, under some circumstances, matter. The results of the study did lead to ideas focused on a new hypothesis based on mating. This is where the mating hypothesis rose. Research discovered that during the right time of the year, giraffes would battle it out for a chance to become the mating partner to a female. Oftentimes, the one standing tallest would be automatically the winner out of sheer flex. But when they do fight, it was clear that more often than not, the stronger, longer neck proved victorious. As explained previously, how scientific experiments work when a hypothesis isn't fully agreed upon, scientists begin to slightly modify the food hypothesis, and that is how the mating hypothesis came about. So in the end, this new hypothesis gave some really compelling reasons to the height of a giraffe. Both hypotheses are not without their flaws. Many more studies are needed to come to a strong conclusive answer. Let me know what you think about these two hypotheses. Which do you think is the right one? Do you think that giraffes have long necks because those that survive are likely the ones that are reaching food from the tallest trees? Or do you think those with the longest necks are the ones more successful at mating with their partners? Do you perhaps have a hypothesis of your own? Let's go ahead and leave it here. There's way more to talk about, and we've just only scratched the surface of biology. Just take from this video that scientific experimentation is a rigorous process full of forward and backtracking. It could get pretty frustrating sometimes, and there's really no telling how long an experiment may last. Heck, the giraffe neck one still isn't fully explained, and that started in the 1990s. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, and share, and tell me if you have your own theory regarding giraffe necks.